All right, Pastor Gino Jennings. This is going to be a slow, and I pray that the devil does not interfere with the connection because I got to keep doing this over and over. But I can sit down with you and we can go through it together. But here we go.
Neither to look thereon.
Yeah.
And I wept much.
Oh, I cried about it.
Because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book.
Then what happened?
Neither to look thereon.
And
one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not.
Don't you cry, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed and done what?
Hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seventh seal.
Notice the language of the Bible. This is what I mean. As I told you before, Revelation is a book of past, present, and future. What John was looking at already happened.
That's right.
Because he walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus.
Yes.
Now,
Pause. So Pastor Gino Jennings says that. Okay, let me replay it for you one more time because the internet is breaking up again. And I guess the devil has power to play with the.
Neither to look.
the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed and done what?
To open the book and to loose the seventh seal.
Notice the language of the Bible. This is what I mean. As I told you before, Revelation is a book of past, present, and future. What John was looking at.
Pause. I want to catch you section for section. Let's see what Revelation says about past, present, and future. What you say it is. You say Revelations is a past, present, and future book. Chapter 1 of Revelation says, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Things which must shortly come to pass. That means not a past tense, but a future event that should come to pass. And it says, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. Let's get some more confirmation. Let's turn to chapter 4. John says, after this I looked, and behold, a door was opened and opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. Things which must be hereafter. There's nowhere in Revelations they tell you Revelation is a past, present, and future book. Nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. Because he walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus.
Yes.
Now listen at this.
Now, if John walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus, why is he weeping about nobody can take the what it says? It says, and a strong angel proclaimed with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither underneath the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And John said, and I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. Why is John uneducated or don't understand that he walked with Jesus on the earth, like you said? He walked with Jesus, he talked with Jesus, so he should have an answer to that question. Who is worthy to take the book out of the right hand of God? John should have said, hey, I walked on the earth and I noticed that Jesus Christ was a man sent by God that did miracles, wonders, and signs and everything. But he didn't even notice, John doesn't even notice that he's one of the 24 elders. An elder is speaking to him out of the 24. And he doesn't recognize his own self as one of the 24 elders. And I'm going to show you how you say he walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus, and he's one of the 24 elders. Watch.
And to loose the seventh seal.
Notice the language of the Bible. This is what I mean. As I told you before, Revelation is a book of past, present, and future. What John was looking at already happened.
That's right.
Because he walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus.
Yes.
Now listen at this.
One of the elders saith unto me, Weep not.
Yeah.
Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
What?
The Lion of the tribe of Judah.
But,
Okay, so I want you to understand that, Gino, that you're saying that John walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus, but he doesn't know that he's one of the 24 elders. And one of the elders are speaking to him because he's weeping because no man was found worthy to take the scroll out of the right hand of God. Let me show you where you confirm that you understand that John walked with Jesus and that he's one of the 24 elders.
tribe was 24 elders. 12 plus 12 is 24. In the Old Testament, you had 12 tribes of Israel. When Jesus came here, he chose 12 men and made them 12 apostles.
So pause. If Jesus chose 12 men, and you said John walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus, that means he's one of the 24 elders. But he doesn't notice himself, and he's weeping because no man is found worthy to take the scroll out of the right hand of God, or take the book with the seven seals out of the right hand of God. He doesn't even know how to answer the question. He's just weeping. So I really wanted to ask you, if he walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus, please explain to us how come he doesn't have the answer to the reason why he's weeping. If he remembers Jesus Christ and all the miracles and signs and wonders that he did, and he was a man chosen of God, then and he believed in Jesus Christ, then he should have had the answer. Why is he weeping?
12 tribes of Israel, New Testament, 12 apostles. 12 plus 12 is 24. That's why you have 24 elders around the throne, because they represent the Old Testament and the New Testament. They represent the prophets of old, they represent the apostles of the new.
That's right.
All right.
And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not.
Don't you cry.
Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
What?
The root of David.
When did it take place?
Hath prevailed.
It already happened.
Hath prevailed.
It already happened already.
Hath prevailed to open the book.
Yeah.
And to loose the seven seals thereof.
Oh, yes.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the
In
throne,
the midst of the throne.
and of the four beasts,
What happened?
and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb,
It stood a lamb.
as it had been slain.
I dare you to tell me a dead Jesus is in heaven.
A dead Jesus was in heaven. Well, let's prove to Gino Jennings there was a dead Jesus in heaven. With me to John chapter 20. You know, when Jesus died, his body was laid in a scepter, but his spirit was in hell preaching to to all those that were in Abraham's bosom. Let me share a moment of his resurrection. Let me share with you the first day that he came back on the earth and got back into that body that was hanging on the cross and was crucified. John chapter 20 says, the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the scepter, and seeth the stone taken away from the scepter. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciple, whom Jesus loved, and saith unto them, they have taken away the Lord out of the scepter, and we know not where they have laid him. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the scepter. So they ran both together. And the other disciple did outrun Peter, and cometh first to the scepter. And he stomped down, and looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet went he not in. Then cometh Simon Peter, following him, and went in to the scepter, and seeth the linen clothes lie. So the clothes that Jesus was wearing, pause for a second, the clothes that he was wearing was lying on the ground, away from the headband, or the band that was wrapped around his head. So that's why Mary said she thought she saw a gardener. He looked different. Let's continue. And the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Then went in also that other disciple, which came first to the scepter, and he saw and believed. For as yet they knew not the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. They didn't know the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples went away again unto their own home. But Mary stood without at the scepter, weeping. And as she wept, she stomped down and looked into the scepter, and see two angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. and I know not where they had laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. Jesus said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She supposing him to be the gardener. That's why she thought he was the gardener, because he didn't have the clothes that he was wrapped in on, right? So she said, she supposed him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Jesus saith unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, Master. Jesus said unto her, Touch me not. Pay attention, Gino. This is very important. This is the first day that Jesus came back from hell, from preaching to all those that was in Abraham's bosom. Jesus said unto Mary, who Mary thinks that's the gardener. Jesus says, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this to you is because this is the first day that Jesus came back from hell, from preaching to those that was in hell, that was in Abraham's bosom. And you said, I dare you to tell me there was a dead Jesus in heaven. If Jesus told Mary Magdalene, you cannot touch me, he has not ascended up to his Father. He literally says in John chapter 20, verse 17, Jesus saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. That means he's not sanctified yet. He got back, he came back from hell, got back into that body that was on the cross, that was hurting, that had the piercings. And he had to go to heaven to be sanctified in order to allow people to touch him. Now, if you keep reading and you get to verse 27 of chapter 20 in John, you'll see that it says, Then saith Jesus, it says, Then saith he to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hand, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it to my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. Because Thomas wanted him to see, at that Jesus was telling you, it's not like when I was with Mary Magdalene. With Mary Magdalene, when Mary Magdalene first seen Jesus, when he first was resurrected and came from hell, from preaching to those that were in hell, he said, Don't touch me. But at some point, you can obviously put two and two together. He went to heaven and was sanctified by God, because he came back down and he said, Thomas, reach hither thy finger and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. Be not faithless, but believing. So he's basically saying, I have ascended up to heaven and God has sanctified me. Now you can touch me. So when you say, I dare you to tell me there was a dead Jesus in heaven, that's your proof. That's your evidence. You want some? Let me give you confirmation of it. If we go to Luke chapter 24, look what he tells his disciples. Look what he tells them. He says, Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see I have, as ye see me have. And when he had thus spoken, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they yet believed not for joy and wonder, he said unto them, Have ye here any meat? And they gave him a piece of broiled fish and of an honeycomb, and he took it and did eat before them. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Jesus had to ascend. The very first day when he saw Mary Magdalene, he said, Don't touch me. I have not ascended up to my Father. And then at some point he ascended up to his Father, because he said to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless. And then in Luke it tells you, Handle me, touch and see that a spirit has not flesh and bones, as you see I have. He was in a spiritual form, but yet he was allowing them to touch him. So that tells you he ascended up to heaven at some point. So when you say this,
And to loose the seven seals thereof.
Oh, yes.
And I in the midst of the
In
throne.
the midst of the throne.
And of the four beasts.
What happened?
And in the midst of the elders stood a lamb.
It stood a lamb.
As it had been slain.
I dare you to tell me a dead Jesus is in heaven.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I want to elaborate some more besides that. I want you to understand the reason why you said that is out of ignorance, because the devil convinced you to say that they're seeing the past. That's how you interpret Revelation chapter 5. Yeah, here we go. Here you go. This is exactly why you say they're seeing the past. It says, and I wept much because no man was found worthy to open the book. John said, I wept much because no man was found worthy to open the book and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed. Just because you hear the word hath prevailed, you think you can interpret Revelation chapter 5 and say, oh, they're seeing the past. No, hath prevailed just means that Jesus was the only one to die with no sin and fulfill God's will. That's the hath prevailed, not that they're seeing the past. I'm going to show you, because you're going to say that they're seeing the past. No, they're not. The only thing that's true about the past is that Jesus died in a righteous way, doing the will of God. So it says, and one of the elders said unto me, we not, behold, Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. It says, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. Now, you, my friend, I read to you John chapter 20 and showed you how Mary Magdalene seen Jesus when he first came from hell, when he first got back into that body that was crucified on the cross, when he first made his return on the first day. And then he said to Mary Magdalene, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended up to my Father. So at some point he ascended up to his Father, because if you keep reading that same chapter, he tells Thomas, reach hither thy finger and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas says, my God and my Lord. Now, I couldn't tell you what he did when he left Mary Magdalene in heaven, but I know he ascended up to heaven because Mary Magdalene wasn't able to touch him. But when he came back down, he told Thomas he can touch him. He told his other disciples they can handle him and see that a spirit has not flesh and bones as he has. So at some point he did go to heaven. Now, I don't know if we got the revelation of what he did in heaven until Revelation. That's probably what chapter 5 means. But there was a dead Jesus in heaven. Now, the reason why they say that he has 7 spirits, that the reason why it says, I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Let me give you a better understanding. When Jesus died and got back into that body and became a spiritual being, that physical body became spiritual. The 7 spirits that led Jesus Christ to the cross and led him as a righteous and successful man or son of God that believe in... Sorry, people keep calling me. The reason why he had 7 spirits on him is because of this. Let me go to Isaiah real quick. I want you to understand. They're seeing the spirits that were in Jesus that kept Jesus in a solid mind, in the good of God, basically. In a faithful way of God. He had the 7 spirits of God. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you that God gave him 7 strong spirits to keep him in order. So here we go. Let me show you. I'm going to share with you what the 7 spirits were that were on Jesus that John is revealing to us in Revelation. If you turn with me to Isaiah chapter 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. That's one. The Spirit of wisdom. That's two. And understanding. That's three. The Spirit of counseling. That's four. And might. That's five. The Spirit of knowledge. That's six. And the fear of the Lord. That's seven. Those are the seven spirits that were on Jesus Christ. That's why he was known as the faithful Son of God. Those seven spirits kept him in order to fulfill God's will. I just want you to understand that. The reason why John is seeing him with them seven spirits in heaven coming to take the right of God is because he's in a spiritual form, not that physical form. Your eyes only can see the physical appearance of a man, but when you become spiritual, you can see everything that's inside of a person. That's why angels can tell you what you know, what you don't know. Why do you think the devil used people's knowledge to tempt Jesus? Why do you think? He can see all that you've learned. If he gets in position of the in position in you like the Holy Spirit, he can use all of your knowledge to do wrong. Now, I wanted you to understand that. This is what happens when you let the enemy get a hold of your treasure box, your house. He will conquer you using all your knowledge and gifts from God. That's what happens when you let a demon get inside of your soul. He starts to use your knowledge and make you think you're wise and smart and you're ignorant to God. Now, I know you don't mean no harm, but I'm trying to show you so you can understand how the devil's taking advantage of you and your mind and your knowledge. He's using it in a way that I can see that the Holy Ghost is not the one performing through you. Now, you said that you dares to tell you there's a dead Jesus in heaven. I gave you proof. Now, can you please explain to me, when you read this, when did this happen in the Gospels so that we can understand it's a past thing? Because you say Revelation chapter 5 is a past thing. Tell me, when I read this, if you can find anything in the Gospels that show that this is a past thing. Let me read. And one of the elders said unto me, please tell me, the elders are the elders on earth or in heaven? And one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals. Tell me, does that mean that Jesus was the only capable of? Please make us understand how we're seeing the, when we only got this information from Revelation. We're seeing the past because it says half prevailed. We know how he half prevailed. He died in righteousness. But when we read Revelation chapter 5, we're not seeing the past because there is no throne of God on the earth. The earth is God's footstool. So we're not seeing the throne on earth. Yet it says, the root of David hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, not on the earth, in the midst of the throne. Where's the throne? In heaven. And of the four beasts, they're in heaven. And in the midst of the elders, they're in heaven, stood a lamb as it had been slain. That's Jesus in spiritual form. He got back into that crucified body, and God made it spiritual and made it live again. And he was spiritual, like I said, and he came and took the scroll out of God's hand. Where is that in the Gospels or in the Old Testament to show that Jesus Christ, what we're reading in Revelation chapter 5, is a past thing? How is it a past thing? I'm trying to really get that. It says, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain. That's the condition the body was in when it was crucified. And Jesus got back into that body, and God gave it life, but it wasn't physical life anymore. It was a spiritual life. And the body looked at abuse. He told Mary Magdalene, don't touch me. I have to go to heaven, sanctified by my God. And then he came back down and said, Thomas, reach hither thy finger and thrust it into my side. So he must have went to heaven and got sanctified. So how are we seeing the past? There's no 24 elders. There's no 4 beasts. There's no throne on the earth that God is sitting on where he has a scroll in his hand and Jesus went and took it out of his right hand. There's none. So I just wanted to clear that up because I heard you say this.
4 beasts. And in the midst of the elders stood a lamb.
It stood a lamb.
As it had been slain.
I dare you to tell me a dead Jesus is in heaven.
That's right.
I want to let you hear why he said that. Let me let Williams read this again so you can understand why he said, I dare you to tell me there was a dead Jesus in heaven. When you hear Williams read this, tell me what you conclude. I'm going to show you the ignorance of people that don't know the scriptures or they just believe in a pastor that just make up interpretations.
New Testament, 12 apostles. 12 plus 12 is 24. That's why you have 24 elders around the throne because they represent the Old Testament and the New Testament. They represent the prophets of old and represent the apostles of the new.
That's right.
All right.
And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not.
Don't you cry.
Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
What?
The root of David.
When did it take place?
Half prevailed.
It already happened.
Half prevailed.
So you heard what Williams says. The root of David half prevailed. Now tell me, when you read Revelation chapter 5, does that sound like a past thing? Listen to Williams now. I want you to conclude, to come up with your theory. I want to see if you believe in his interpretation, to see if they're seeing the past.
It happened already.
Half prevailed to open the book.
Yeah.
And to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Oh, yes.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne.
In the midst of the throne.
And of the 4 beasts.
What?
And in the midst of the elders stood a lamb.
Stood a lamb.
As it had been slain.
I dare you to tell me a dead Jesus is in heaven.
That's right.
So where is Jesus taking that scroll out of the right hand of God at? Where on the earth? If they're seeing the past, when and where? You make interpretations up and they backfire on you. Because you're embarrassing God by telling us there's not a dead Jesus in heaven. And I showed you what he told Mary Magdalene when he first was resurrected. He said, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended up to my Father. So he ascended up to his Father. He came back down. He said, thrust it into my side and be not faithless. So there's not a dead Jesus in heaven. Then you calling God a liar. Are you calling God a liar?
That's right. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst
What
of the
he
throne.
saw already took place on earth.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, Gino. When did God set his throne on the earth, which he called his footstool, and he had a scroll in his right hand, and you read in the Gospels, because that's the only time you're going to hear about Jesus is in the New Testament, and he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of God. I know he was crucified, but I can't find nowhere in the Gospels where he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of God. And there was 24 elders and 4 beasts. Listen to what else it says. This is what else took place while he went to go take the scroll out of the right hand of God. And it says, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints. And they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seal thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. When in the world, in the Gospels, did you see that to call it the past? You have 24 elders and 4 beasts, even angels saying glory to God and to the Lamb. And yet you say we're seeing the past, and we can't even find it in the past where there was 24 elders and 4 beasts and angels praising God and saying glory to the Lamb who is worthy to take the book out of the right hand of God. But you interpret Revelation chapter 5 as a past thing.
That's right.
They saw the Lamb slain.
That's right.
It is written how they granted him.
Oh, I know what it is. The only interpretation you can get for they saw the Lamb slain is when he was crucified. So the devil convinced you to say They're seeing the past. That's full of ignorance, man.
Right. It is written, they have killed the Prince of Life, and that death took place right here on earth.
That's right. That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
They wasn't looking at the death all over again.
No.
And that a reenactment of it. No, they saw the past.
That's it.
They saw the past.
Look at Mr. Williams. That's it. You're right, Gino. That's it. Oh man. They in heaven. They're watching TV and saying the Lamb the root of David had prevailed. He was slain. The only time I can remember he was slain was on the earth, and he got crucified. So this interpretation for Revelation chapter 5 means that everybody's in heaven, the 24 elders and the 4 beasts, they're standing around watching God look at Jesus that was crucified. What an interpretation.
They saw which was.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
The is, was, and is not only talking about God or the Son of God, it's also talking about event.
You hear that? Is, was, and is not only talking about God, but talking about event. He's back to saying that Revelation is a past, present, and future thing when it's not. He said the Revelation comes to pass. Future events that must shortly come to pass. But the devil put in Gino's mind that, man, say past, present, and future is what Revelation means, because God's title is He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So don't that make sense? Past, present, and future, yesterday, today, and forevermore. Preach it, my brother. I guarantee you they'll love to hear that.
You mean, I saw the past. They saw which was.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
The is, was, and is not only talking about God or the Son of God, it's also talking about event.
Events.
What do you mean? I'm the same yesterday. Yesterday as it was.
Right.
He's talking about God's character is the same as Revelation, past, present, and future. God is the same yesterday. Revelation is the same thing as the past. God's is like today. Hold on, let me say it right. God is like yesterday, today, and forevermore. Revelation is like past, present, and future. That is such. The devil is really playing your mind as a fool.
And today is.
Is.
And forevermore is to come.
Preach it, man.
Are you getting it?
Preach it.
I'm the same yesterday was. And today
Today.
is. And forevermore was. And they, do you see the language of the Bible?
And I've been held along with the midst.
Now all falls in place like a beautiful puzzle.
That's
Do
right.
you hear?
And I've been held along with the midst of the throne.
In the midst of the throne
And of the 4 beasts.
of the 4 beasts
And in the midst of the elders stood a lamb that had been
to
slain.
the Lamb.
And they all watching the past, according to Gino Jennings. The interpretation of Revelation chapter 5 is that they're seeing the past. He's watching, or any research, I believe you.
It's still the Lamb.
The lamb.
But how did it look?
As it had been
It
slain.
looked like it was dead.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Having 7 horns and
That's why he told Mary Magdalene, don't touch me. I have not yet ascended to my Father where he sanctified me. He came back from hell and got back into that body that was crucified. And then he went to heaven and got sanctified and came back down and said, Thomas, reach hither thy finger and be not faithless. He told his disciples, touch and see that spirit has not flesh and bones as you see I have. So they're not seeing the past. That's literally Jesus getting back into that physical body and it becoming spiritual.
And
which are the 7 spirits of God,
Yeah.
sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne.
now wait a minute. Same thing I believe Daniel how the Messiah
Yeah,
came to the Ancient of Days. And
that's right.
and said, and you blind that it was 2 up in heaven.
What? We thought there was 2 in heaven. There is 2. There's God's natural life, and then there's the life that he used to make redemption and salvation for us. Let me share with you real quick. Go with me to Exodus chapter 19. This is what he told Moses for you to understand, you know. He says, And the Lord, this is Exodus chapter 19, verse 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. We couldn't even look at God's natural form. So you can understand what I'm about to share with you. He said to Moses, he said, thou, Exodus chapter 33, verse 20. And he said, Thou cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. So how was you going to make reconciliation or salvation for us? How, God? You're the only one that's able. You're the only one with the power, the knowledge, the skills. So please explain to me how you was going to do this, God. Because Gino's telling us, we thought it was 2. But wait a minute. You want me to prove him wrong? Okay. Let's go to Colossians chapter. Let's go to Colossians chapter 1. Let's see how God did. This is what it says. Who is, Colossians chapter 1, verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God? And you thought one more time. Who is the image of the invisible God? The firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created. So if this image is created, he's not God. To represent for God. So it says one more time. Who is the image of the invisible God? Who is that? That's Jesus. The firstborn of every creature. God is not born. For by him were all things created. All things? You mean God made the light, the firmament, the man, the beast, the solar system through him? I wonder why. Why would you do that, God? Why would you make everything through this spirit? Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things. Oh my God. And by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminency. For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell. It pleased the Father? Now, God, why would you be making the Son of God with all of this, with all of your work? Why would you do that? We have to listen to Pastor Joe tell us that we're ignorant. He wants us to believe that you use your natural life. You put your natural life in a body. You call yourself Son of Man, the Son of God. You use your natural life. I want people to understand there's no way. If God says no man can see my face and live to Moses, there's no way you was going to spit on God, not even through a fleshly body. His spirit, you will never disrespect like that. There's no way that's possible. That's why God created Jesus Christ and allowed him to go through all the things that he wouldn't go through with his natural life. And he created a body for him after he created the world, the firmament, the lights, the animals. He said, let us create man in our own image. He created everything and credited all the creation of life to that image because that image will represent him. Let me share with you how it represents him so you can understand me. I don't want you to think I'm lying, so let's get straight to it. Okay, here we go. That's James. Here he is. Here we go. Listen to what God said. Listen to what God said. He said, but to the Son, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. Thou hast loved righteousness. Look how God is putting his quality into that spirit, the image of kingdom. Thou has loved righteousness. Not only did God give this an example for us, for our edification. So he said, thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. He says, and hated iniquity. Therefore, God, even thy God, have anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. And thou, Lord, listen to this very closely, Gino. And thou, Lord, you image, you Son of God, in the beginning has laid the foundation of the earth. Wow, God, you gave him all that credit when we know you did it, but you created everything through that image. Why? Because you needed a life to bring salvation for the people that loves you. We understand that. I can understand that because you said to Moses, no man can see my face and live. So this is the way you would bring salvation to us. You created a life that was under your power, your will. Not like us. We have free will where we can say yes or no. This one was made for our edification, an example how to love you and keep your commandments. In and out, that's the devil. And the Lord in the beginning, he says, and thou, Lord, in the beginning laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the works of thy hands. They shall perish, but thou shalt remainest, and they shall wax old as doeth a garment. So God is telling you that he credits Jesus Christ for creating everything, because he put all that, he created everything through him to give him credit as the creator, so that he can use him and will him to bring salvation and to bring a demonstration and an example on how you should use your will to love God. He showed you how to perfectly love him back. That's what God did, and made salvation for you. So when people say, I see Jesus standing on the right hand of God, that's the life God used to bring salvation to mankind. Listen to this one right here. But one in a certain place testified, what is man that thou art mindful of him? What is man that thou art mindful of him? Or the Son of Man that thou visited him with glory and honor, and didst set him over the works of thy hands. You set him over the works of your hand? I wonder why. Explain it to us. Because you wanted a life that will represent you as a creator, so that it can stand for you and make redemption for mankind. What does it say about testator? Let's go to chapter 9, I believe. Hold on. First, I'm gonna read this. He said this, because he said Jesus over the works of his hands. He said, for as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that the devil. Because that's how the devil caused a lot of people to err. He'll put a certain feeling in you, a feeling like you got. Let me detour for a second. You got gay pastors, you got women pastors, you got gay men, you got gay women, and they have no idea how the devil's controlling them. Listen to how the devil made Eve sin, and you will understand why you keep choosing sin and why you keep defending sin like it is good for you. Go back and read the first sin that ever happened. You will see that the devil's spiritual warfare has to do with manipulation. It has a lot to do with your feelings and your thoughts. So the devil put a feeling in Eve. First, he asked Eve, what are the words that God told you? So I can understand. He said, did God tell you that you can't eat of every tree of the garden? So he was, searching to find out what God put in her. Because you have to understand, words come with feelings and thoughts. That's how the devil ministers. That's how God ministers. So God told Eve, y'all can be fruitful and multiply, but every tree in the garden, y'all can have for yourselves. But the one in the middle, you can't have. He was letting her know. So knowing that Eve is a new creation and she's not that bright, she's not that educated like Lucifer, the words that God spoke to her came with such a feeling that, oh man, God said, don't touch this tree, don't eat of this tree. So the whole time she was living in the garden, she never touched it. She didn't have knowledge to understand why or what death meant or anything like that. Remember, she was just born. She's a new creation. She hasn't been trained by God in a lot of things like the devil, Lucifer, and his fallen angels, right? So when the devil found out what she knew, he countered those words with his own. He said, you shall not surely die, for God doeth know that the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods. Now, let me show you exactly what type of feelings that the devil was putting in her through those conversations. He said, you shall not surely die. That was a feeling of encouragement. We know what it feels like to be encouraged, either to play a basketball game or to take a spelling bee test or anything like that. Encouragement to force her to believe that she won't die. She shall surely be like gods, knowing good and evil. That's a wise feeling. You know when somebody calls you smart, man. You know to spell. You know how to do math. You know how to read. Man, you smart. So he put a feeling of feeling smart, wise in her, and then he put a feeling of lust in her, cause It says when you read the next paragraph, she said, and the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it would make her wise to know good and evil like God. So now you see all those feelings working in Eve. There ain't nobody put no gun in her head. The devil put that kind of ministry in her heart. So she, instead of her saying, I rebuke you, Satan, she didn't even know what that meant. Those feelings overcame her. So she said, you know what? This food that looks good to me. It will make me wise. The fruit thereof, and she ate, and she became a sinner. Same thing happened to King David. King David woke up out of his bed, and the devil got into his heart and poured a lustful feeling into his heart. And he said, man, Bathsheba, you look beautiful. Even with the warnings that God was sending through messages, like one of his servants says, isn't that Eliam's daughter? Isn't that Uriah's wife? Hint, hint. Do you get it? But he was so mesmerized by the feeling of lust that he said, go get her and bring her here. He slept with her, got her pregnant. And then he tried to cover it up. See, the devil doesn't stop from there. He said, you're a king. You need to cover this up. You see, the devil works through feelings and thoughts. You need to cover this up. You're a king. You'll bring a bad name to yourself if you don't cover this up. So he had Uriah killed. He told Joab, when you go to this battle, withdraw the team and let Uriah fall and die. See, all that over feelings of lust. But when the prophet Nathan came to King David, he said, there was a rich man and a poor man. The rich man had like one ill lamb, but the rich man had plenty of animals. The poor man had one lamb. He said, because the rich man had a sojourner, somebody come visit him. He said, I'm not going to kill none of my animals to feed you. He took the poor man's one ill lamb, killed it, and served the visitor. David's emotions was in order, in place. He got mad and said, that man who did that, he should get punished. Nathan the prophet said, that man is you. You slept with your soldier's only wife. He ate at your house and ate at your table. You took his only wife and then you killed him. You see, the devil likes to mix up your feelings and your thoughts to make you agree and do sin. He even likes to do it in certain situations to make it seem real and undeniable. This is what you got to understand about the devil. I just wanted to share that with you. If you're a person that act on your feeling without judging it according to the way Christ would judge it, what do you think the devil's trying to do when he said, I caught this woman in adultery? I caught her sleeping with another man. What should we do with her? He said, the first one without a sin cast the first stone. That tells me right there the character of Jesus Christ. He don't judge according to his feelings. He judges according to God's feelings and thoughts. Because God's ways is always righteous. If you judge according to yourself, you're leaning unto your own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3 says, lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he shall lead your path. Even though you're in a situation that makes your feelings seem right, make your thoughts seem right, back down and think. Go read the scriptures and find out what God would do. Pray and ask God, what should you do? Even though the situation seems like, man, I should fight this person. I should sue this person. Think. That's what the devil wants you to be unorganized. So he can organize your thoughts and your feelings and make you agree to do sinful things. You might think you're justifying yourself. You might think you're bringing justification. You feel right, but no, not with God. So I just wanted to I want to share that with you real quick. Now let's continue to Hebrews. He said for verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham. Wherefore in all things it behoved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself have suffered being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted. See, God, when it says that, let me read this part because this is what Gino says. You thought it was 2. It says, being made so much better than the angels, as he have by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. So how can God obtain a more excellent name than the angels? His name is Jesus. You get what I'm saying? How can God give himself his own name? He gave it to the image that he used to bring reconciliation for mankind. Listen to this. He says, God at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the world, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his word, and upholding all things by the words of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. God sat that image down on his right hand. There is 2 in heaven. God's natural life and the image that he used to interact and make reconciliation for mankind. I want Gino to understand that. That's why people say they see 2. God's natural life and the image that he worked through to bring salvation to mankind, because he couldn't do things that he needed to do for us with his natural life. No man can see his face and live, is what he said to Moses. So can you imagine God? You know what? Think about this. If your spirit is the one that identifies when you get hurt, when you feel sad, when you feel angry, if your spirit identifies what you're feeling or what you're going through in that body, can you imagine if God's natural spirit was in the body of the Son of God and you spit on him? And he told Moses, no man can see my face and live. Can you imagine spitting on his body and his natural, glorious life said, I just got spit on? You think you will stay alive? That's why he tells you in Colossians chapter 1, verse 15, who is the image of the invisible God. This is before he had a body created. This is another reason why God created that life. He needed a testator because God wrote wills and promises that he made. So he needed a testator so that he can fulfill his promises and his will. This is what it says about testators. It says, for where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. God cannot die. So who do you think is his testator? The life, the image of the invisible God, like Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 says. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the book and all the people. This is why God said to people, if you believe in Jesus Christ, especially those that was under the old covenant, that was binded to the law, he said, Jesus' blood, if you believe he's my son, he died for your sins, his blood is counted to you, and you can come from under the old law into the faith of Jesus Christ, and you can be saved. But if you die under the old law, you will be judged according to every sin the devil made you accumulate. He said, saying, this is the blood of the testament which God hath been joined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, and almost all things by the law, purged with blood. And without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Now, I just want to say that with you because you said this. You don't believe that God made Jesus Christ as the life for him to interact and save sinners. You don't believe people when they tell you, I see God and I see Jesus Christ, which is, I see God's natural life and I see the life that he used to do things that he couldn't do with his natural life. That's why he put all that credit and all that credibility on Jesus Christ. You can read about it in Hebrews. He says, thou madest him a little lower than the angels. Thou settest him over the works of thy hands. Why? Because he represents me and the things that I need to do that I cannot do with my natural life. Let's go.
Little Jesus, go. Thing I believe Daniel saw.
Yeah.
How the Messiah
Yeah.
came to the Ancient of Days.
That's right.
Eh?
That's right.
And said, and you blind folk thought that it was two up in heaven.
Something? Who is the Son of Man coming to God? If we don't understand, please explain to us which one is God? The Son of Man or the Ancient of Days? In Daniel chapter 7.
You couldn't get it. You see, John saw the same thing that Daniel saw. And Daniel, just as the Messiah, came to the Ancient of Days. And listen at this.
Now the book of Daniel chapter 9.
You got to move quick, Williams.
Daniel chapter 9, and we'll start at verse 24.
Read fast.
70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city.
Yes.
To finish the transgression and to make an end of sins. Down
Yes.
to verse 25.
All right.
Know therefore and understand.
I want you to know.
And understand.
I want you to understand. I don't want you to just read. That's what you people do.
That's right.
You just read, then say it mean what it said. No miss.
You're gonna regret saying that because I'm gonna show you how you just read.
That's what they said.
Huh?
That's what they
They
said.
mean what it said. No mystery there. Definitely do die.
Definitely do, dog.
Yeah.
That's the devil.
Blind
That's
as you
right.
just as blind as a brick can fix brick.
Can you imagine the Holy Spirit making him say that? You just as blind as a brick and fix grits. That's a demon.
That's right.
Do you hear the old troublemaker?
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25.
I want to balance this out with Revelation also. We're going back again.
Right.
Amen. I thank God for this.
Yes.
I have to say like Jesus, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth. Thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent, have revealed unto the babe, so it seems good in his sight. Listen at this in the Daniel viewers. I want this to be good for you viewers when your preacher try to the third member of the Godhead family.
Gino, there's God, there's the life God used to do all his redemption and salvation and reconciliation. And then there's the Holy Spirit. God, the life that he used, that John baptized and received the Holy Ghost. God showed you the procedures of becoming the Son of God with a man named Jesus Christ, which is the life God created first before he created anything. Just to let you know, Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 will explain that to you.
It said,
Hear the old man now. Very good.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25.
Listen at this.
Know therefore and understand.
I want you to know and understand.
That from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem.
Yes.
Unto the Messiah the Prince.
Unto the Messiah,
The Prince.
the Prince. That's Jesus.
That's
You see that? Pause. Watch Gino tell you that he understands that Jesus was not born yet. That means Mary could not have been born yet. That neither one existed. He's going to show you that he understands that. And then he's going to show you he forgets in a second.
and shall be 7 weeks and
Shall be.
shall be 7 weeks.
And let you know he wasn't born yet. What he saw wasn't born yet
That's right.
to be fulfilled.
Do you believe that? Do you really believe that? Let's see.
Shall be me, it will happen.
Shall be 7 weeks.
But God gave him a present vision of
So now you understand that God is showing Daniel vision. So you understand Mary wasn't born yet and Jesus wasn't born yet. You basically telling us that right now. Okay.
future event. And then when it got to Daniel, John the commandment
Restore and to build Jerusalem
Lord, and
unto the
rebuild
Messiah.
Jerusalem to the Messiah, the Prince.
Shall be 7 weeks.
Shall be 7 weeks.
And 62 weeks.
Yes.
The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks,
What happened?
shall Messiah be cut off,
Shall Messiah be cut
but
off?
not for himself.
Yes.
And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Yes.
And the end thereof shall be
That's
put
not what I
before
want.
Daniel.
Here we go. He just explained that Jesus was not born and Daniel's having a vision, so Mary couldn't exist in that time. But watch how fast the devil's going to make him ignorant.
7. I will start at verse 13.
Read fast.
And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one
Wasn't existing then.
I want everybody to hear me clearly. I want everybody to hear me clearly. Every time I record this, man, the YouTube channel is being infected by some kind of... The devil is really an evil spirit that can do things. I don't know why God allows him to do things, but he is. I can tell every time I get to this part where I'm about to show you the truth, he always mess with the wiring or the connection. Listen to Gino Jennings tell you he understands the vision, but yet he says something ignorant like this.
start at verse 13.
Read fast.
And I saw in the night cut off.
Shall Messiah, the Prince,
Shall be 7 weeks.
shall be 7 weeks. That
Know
this.
therefore and understand
And
that from the going forth of the commandment
from the going forth of the
to
commandment
restore and to build
To
Jerusalem
restore and
unto the...
Hold on.
to be fulfilled,
That's right.
shall be me,
Yes.
the Prince, that's Jesus,
That's right.
And
shall be 7 weeks. And
shall be.
Shall be 7 weeks.
And let you know he wasn't born yet. What he saw wasn't born yet
That's right.
to be fulfilled.
That's right.
Shall be me, it will happen.
Shall be 7 weeks.
But God gave him a present vision of a future event.
Now, you see how Gino tells you he understands that God gave Daniel a present vision of a future event. Now watch him say something ignorant after he understands that Jesus wasn't born in the time of Daniel, nor was Mary. Watch what he says in just a split second.
Prince that shall come shall destroy the city
Uh-huh.
and the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And the end thereof shall be...
That's not what I want.
Daniel chapter 7. And we'll start at verse 13.
Read fast.
And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like unto the Son of Man.
Yeah. I saw one that looked like who?
One
Because Mary wasn't existing then.
That's right.
Didn't you just say that Jesus wasn't born yet and Daniel's having a vision of the future? So what makes you think you sound smart by saying Mary wasn't born in the time of Daniel? What happened to you understanding it was a vision? What made you thought what you're saying was an intelligent conversation? You just told us literally. You just literally told us that Daniel's having a present vision of the future. Shall be. He wasn't born yet. Shall be. But for some reason, the devil made it sound so good to you to say, hey, that's not the body Mary birthed. Then whose body is that? Because you're going to use Matthew chapter 28. Then you got to really explain to me whose body's in Matthew chapter 28 if that's not the body Mary birthed. Let's hear you say it.
That's right.
Mary wasn't existing then.
No.
I believe the Bible called Mary a young virgin. If she was in the Old Testament and then live on to the New, she'll be an old virgin.
Old.
A small detail like that they overlook.
That's right.
A young virgin.
That's right.
Not an old one.
An old one.
Listen good.
Daniel chapter 7, we'll start at verse 13.
Parliament.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like unto the Son of Man.
Yes.
Came with the clouds of heaven.
Came with the clouds of heaven.
And came to the Ancient of Days.
Correct. Came to the Ancient of Days.
And they brought him near before him.
They brought him near before him.
And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom.
Yes.
That all people, nations, and language should serve him.
Yes.
Dominion, his dominion is an everlasting dominion.
Yes.
Which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
You wait a minute. It was given to him.
And there was given him dominion. They were passed.
Jesus ruled.
Matthew chapter 28.
What did he say?
Matthew chapter 28, and we'll start at verse.
All power.
All power is given unto me.
That's when that was fulfilled.
That's right.
So my question to you is, if Daniel chapter 7, the vision that God is showing Daniel of the body that Mary birthed, and you say that's not the body Mary birthed, whose body is in Matthew chapter 28? If Daniel's vision was fulfilled with Matthew chapter 28, tell me whose body that is. If it's not the body that Mary birthed, you are ignorant. It's the body Mary birthed that was crucified and killed and showed up in the mountain of Galilee and said, all power in heaven and on earth is given to me. That is the body Mary birthed. No, Mary could not be born in the time of Daniel, neither could Jesus, but God showed Daniel a vision of the body that Mary birthed. You even said Matthew chapter 28 is when that vision was fulfilled. So whose body's in Matthew chapter 28? Okay then. Now let's watch you change it from Matthew chapter 28 to that's prophecy being fulfilled. You're going to say that that's Jesus in the book of Daniel that should be born of Mary. Watch.
Spirits of God.
Now in the Old Testament, when the Son of Man was saw standing before the Ancient of Days and came with clouds, that lets you know that the promise of the Ancient of Days will be fulfilled, and the arrival of the Son of Man, or the word of the Son of Man that brings the Son of Man to existence, will come from heaven. That's why he saw coming in the cloud. Don't you hear him say, I come from God? I come from God. Well, how did he come from God? I came from God through promise.
That's right.
That's why in the book of Daniel, he seen coming through the cloud. What you mean? Daniel saw the fulfillment of the promise of child is born.
Chapter 28. Now you explain that Daniel's vision means that that's Jesus that should be born of Mary. Our own friend, Mr. Williams, helping you interpret that lie to cover up the first interpretation from Matthew chapter 28 to prophecy being fulfilled in Daniel chapter 7.
Time is given.
That's right.
Government shall be upon his shoulder. Name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. What he sealed? Coming in cloud.
Now the book of
What you mean? The prophecy is big, is coming to pass.
That's right.
Slowly but surely, He's coming from God.
That's right.
Slowly but surely, the fulfillment of the prophecy is coming from on high.
That's right.
What did he say now?
The wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 15. Thine almighty word,
Thine almighty word.
leap down from heaven.
See that? That's Williams helping you change the interpretation of Daniel chapter 7 from Matthew chapter 1. It's talking about the end. The judgment seat is set. Angels are surrounding the Ancient of Days, which is God. And he's about ready to judge the world. So how do you explain Daniel chapter 7 as that's Jesus that should be born of Mary?
From heaven.
In the beginning was the word was God, the word prophecy is coming from on high.
That's right.
What did he say
Now
now?
the book of the wisdom of Solomon.
You got to read quick,
Now
Sal.
the wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse 15.
Thine
Almighty word,
Thine almighty word.
leap down from heaven.
Leap down from where?
From heaven.
In the beginning was the word was with God, the word was God, and the word made flesh. God making flesh by the creating power of his word was when his promise was made into an act.
That's right.
So when the Son of Man was saw in the book of Daniel coming in the clouds,
Clouds of heaven.
that was God's word that will take on form.
This is such a lie. That's not even a good explanation for Daniel chapter 7.
Lord, my Lord.
And the form, the promise of the form will come from heaven.
From heaven.
So Daniel chapter 7 is explained by you as that's Jesus that should be born of Mary. That's prophecy that should be fulfilled. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. The